I recently had a casework surgery session in my constituency, and the subject of dating apps was mentioned, and the lack of responsibility and the lack of care and oversight by dating apps towards women users. Does the honourable member agree that dating apps and the operators that profit from those apps should also be held to account for protecting women and men who use those apps in the same way as social media companies should be held to account?
Yes. And I thank the honourable gentleman for that intervention, and yes, I wholeheartedly agree with the sentiment of his point, and I hope that we can work across the House to make that.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. And I begin again with the opportunity to congratulate the member for Birmingham Yardley on all of the work that she's done over the years, standing up for women and girls and fighting violence against them. Violence against women and girls by men is a societal epidemic, and it is right that we in this place and the government treat it as such. We on these benches welcome the government's pledge to halve violence against women and girls over this Parliament, and we're keen to see action taken as soon as possible to reform aspects of the law in this area to accelerate what should be a national mission of stamping out this kind of awful violence. I particularly welcome the rollout of the Domestic Abuse Protection Notice and Orders pilot scheme in Sutton Borough, which covers my constituency of Sutton and Cheam. These orders will allow the police to take stronger and more immediate action in domestic abuse cases, and is a significant step forward, providing greater protection for victims and helping ensure that abusers face the consequences of their actions without delay. Indeed, in my borough of Sutton last month, we were tragically reminded of how urgent these protections are. The brutal murder of Gemma Devenish was a devastating blow to our community. Her death underscores the dire consequences of not providing all women with the critical support they need. It is a dark reminder that these protections are not just necessary, but a matter of life and death. As with any kind of epidemic, we must recognise the warning signs, early indicators and normalise precursors that lead to this kind of awful violence. Stalking isn't just a crime against someone's safety. It is a violent psychological attack on their very sense of self. It chips away at their emotional well-being, their sense of security, their right to simply exist without fear. For far too many women and girls, this crime is a daily reality. Yet, despite previous legislative reforms, the system still isn't protecting victims of this crime properly. Data shared with me via an FOI shows that in London, more than 1 in 3 stalking cases ends with the victim withdrawing from the process. 1 in 3, Madam Deputy Speaker. That is a shockingly high number, and it should concern us all. In some cases, this is because they disagree with the proposed action, but many victims have told me that it is also because they feel they aren't able to provide enough evidence to pursue a proper conviction, with the burden of proof set unfathomably high to achieve a Section 4A conviction. And when a law is providing so onerous a burden to victims who are so clearly suffering torment, it is our job in this House to hone in on it as a flawed piece of legislation. The current law is inconsistent and confusing, and as a result, it is failing victims. The current division of stalking offences into Sections 2A and 4A just isn't working. This confusion allows perpetrators to buy time and continue tormenting their victims with little consequence. So I would fear that victims, overwhelmingly women and girls, are essentially being told they need to be the perfect victim to get the police to ensure a conviction. They have to repeatedly expose their pain and humiliation to the system just to secure fundamental protection from the police. I'd like to draw the attention of the House to a report published in September by the Chief Inspector of Constabulary, the Independent Office for Police Conduct and the College of Policing. This report, driven by a super complaint from the Susie Lamplugh Trust, has forced us to face the uncomfortable truth that many of us already knew: the system is failing women and girls. The report explores creating a single clear offence for stalking rather than splitting it between 2A and 4A. The London Victims Commissioner has echoed those calls, and today I strongly encourage the Government to do the same. The Minister for Safeguarding has promised a review of current stalking legislation, so I ask the Minister again, what is the timeline for this review? And more importantly, when will we see real changes to the law that actually protects victims and holds stalkers to account?
Joe White.